Welcome, everyone, to a brand new format for our PWT Live podcast. Today, we are going to meet you live in person. We have an incredible panel, and we are here to discuss the words intuition and energy. Up until recently, they've been kind of woo woo, but everything coaching and leadership says you should be using your intuition and your energy. So, how do we do it effectively? We are here with our panel of mentor experts to figure that out. So, let's get to it.
Empower, Empowering women on a global scale. Welcome to Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. Powerful Women Today is on a mission of inclusion, rewriting his story to include her story, and empowering, raising, and amplifying women's voices with professional speaking, publishing, original podcasting, and web TV. And now here's your host, the founder of Powerful Women Today, Carolina Billings.
Welcome, everyone. If you're joining us live or you're watching us later, today we have a very exciting conversation because we are going to be speaking to mentor experts who excel at their intuition in bringing their energy and their very essence to coaching. And that's why their clients and all of us have such superb experiences every time we work with them. So today we have Coach Tash, Natasha Walker, we have Mindy McManus, and we have Stacy Hall. And ladies, I'll let you introduce yourself because you're just too fabulous and I'll probably miss out something. So, Tash, if we could start with you, Mindy, and then Stacy.
Yes, so I am Coach Tosh, also known as Natasha Walker. My website is coachtosh.com. That's why I have branded myself as Coach Tosh. And it's simple and easy to remember. So I think it's really important to have a simple, easy name. And as far as I go, I am a PCC, professional certified coach with the ICF. I have been teaching and TAing coaching for the past 4.5 years. And I work one-on-one with coaches that are going through the certification process to help them go from all the way from A to starting out with their courses, all the way to the finish line, getting their actual ACC, PCC credentials. On top of that, I also do a different style of coaching, which is new to a lot of the world, which is astro coaching. So I use astrology as a tool in conjunction with coaching, mainly because it's fun and it's one of my passions. And I do believe that leading into your passion is really important.
Brilliant, thank you. And I have done one of those coaching sessions with Tash, Coach Tash, and I tell you, brilliant. It was just like I wanted to absorb every word she was saying. So it's absolutely amazing. Mindy?
So, Mindy McManus, and I am also a professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, that is in parens ICF. So, all of those acronyms thrown at you. So, Natasha and I, so she was one of my teachers when I went through coaching school, and I hired her to help me practice for the actual rigorous test. And there is you have to send in a video of you coaching, and so you have to meet so many markers that they want you to meet there. And intuition is actually a big piece of the rigor that they add to their coaching curriculum and utilizing that. So I've been coaching for
now
over
they mention intuition at the ICF website and on their training. So
Yep.
this is something that is innovative, and we're right at the cusp of it.
Yep.
Stacy?
Well, I I love helping business owners transform from being product pushers into what I call wisdompreneurs, which means that they are sharing their knowledge, the wisdom, their experience that they've developed in order to be able to help make a difference for others and leave a legacy that lives on long after they're gone. And all the nerves of the body end in the gut. A lot of people don't know that our colon walls are filled with nerve endings. And why am I saying that? because when we talk about gut feeling, we're talking about true intuition. Our nervous system gives us signals. And if we can listen to those signals, we become much more successful in business than those who only operate from here.
Love it. And of course, I'm Carolina Billings. Of course, I'm Carolina Billings. Carolina Billings, founder of Powerful Women Today, host and moderator today. And you know what? I read a fabulous book by Malcolm Gladwell that speaks about exactly what you just mentioned, right? That gut feeling. And actually, your body knows before your mind is aware of it, which I know a lot of that sounds woo woo and like, all magicy, but it's real, it's science based, and it's real. And we already have a send off. We're going to show, we have wishing us, it's early morning where Jay Shri is joining us from, and she's wishing us the best of luck in our new format. So thank you, much love. All right. So intuition, how do you know you're having it? How do you know? Like, is it something that you train for, or is this something that just comes naturally? Who would like to just kick off our session?
Happy to step in. I will say that it's a little of both. First off, we are all born with those nerve endings that I mentioned. So it isn't anything we have to go get. It's part of us, our gut, our intuition, our feelings. And then there's the development part, the first of acknowledging it's there, learning. I think most people are like me, where we learn to listen to it after not listening to it and getting in trouble, as Mindy's nodding. So I know I'm not alone, because when I work with my clients, right, that's kind of how we know. It's like, I heard that voice and I didn't listen to it. And so I would say, first, let's accept that we have it. And if it requires not following it at the beginning in order to see what happens, because we all want our free will, okay. But then eventually, if it's too painful, we wind up coming back going, what can I do? How can I build a relationship with my intuition?
I love it. And you know what? You're right. Is learning to listen. Because at first, I think your intuition whispers, but sometimes it actually screams at you. It's like, don't send that email. So, what about you, Mindy? How did you first come in contact with it?
So I've been in contact with my intuition since I was a child. I've always been able to, like, if I and that's going back to what Stacy said, that gut feeling. There's been one time that I did not go with my gut feeling, and I went and I learned to regret it. It was one of the most, the outcome was not good, but I still made it through, and I'm still here. So that's good. But I always think you have to always listen to your intuition. It's there. And like you said, we have to learn how to listen to it and know when it's starting to like push at you. And it nudges you a little bit, but then it gets louder and louder and louder. And, Stacy, you said, you might not want to follow it because we have free will, but why wouldn't you? That's your body telling you, like, hey, these signals that are coming at me are not good. We need to investigate a little bit more before we jump forward. And that's how you want to use that intuition, not as like a total stopgap, but, investigate. Where is that coming from?
And I think it also comes down to confidence, right? I think if you're not used to trusting yourself, then listening to your intuition may not be a reliable source, right? Now, Tash, how did you first, I was just blown away during our session. I have to tell you, I'm going to leave it for people to contact you and experience it, because by now you can appreciate that we've seen a lot. So to come across something new is just so exciting, right? And we have a comment that I love it, and I would love to hear your take on it. But I do want to acknowledge the intuitive whispers.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Mhm.
that is, I love that topic. That needs to be a book. Is
Yeah.
Nana? Let's talk about that after. So Tash, tell us about it, because you're very vocal about the fact that intuition can be learned. So
Yes,
let's
absolutely.
share with us that.
I feel like that's one of my superpowers is being able to teach intuition. Because I believe like the course that I have created that I'm really excited to like release out to the world. But I'm just waiting for one more component to fall into place. My girlfriend who's writing a book, I want to use her book in tandem with this course. Um, but so intuition, let me start with your original question as when did I first experience it? And I'm
Mhm.
right there in Mindy's boat. And that was since I was a child. And it whispers in the back of my head and it would speak kind words to me, telling me, nudging me in certain directions. And as I have progressed with time, my intuition has now blossomed and bloomed in new and exciting ways because I was willing to interact with it in new and different
Mm.
ways. So, if you don't mind, I would love to tell a story of one
Yeah,
time I have
please
an
do.
intuition hit with a client. And this is something that I had to just trust. And for the most part, a lot of us will just hear the intuition. I say we have like three major intuitive spaces: our brain, our heart brain, and our gut brain.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes in my brain, I'll get images. And so I was working with a client and they were talking about business and marketing and what they wanted to do. And out of nowhere, I just got an image of a dusty sword in my head. I'm like, okay, all right, intuition, this is really strange. Why are you giving this to me? And I just told myself, just trust intuition, just share it. It's not my job to judge it, it's only my job to share what comes through. So then I let my client know, hey, my intuition is showing me this image of a dusty sword. How does that sit with you? And they just started laughing. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we come. They're going to call a straitjacket for me. They think I have totally lost it. And the next thing you know, they're letting me know, hey, Natasha, right in front of me across from my desk is a dusty sword that I received from the Navy. And in that moment, we had this like really cool connection that my intuition showed me. And if I didn't vocalize that, if I didn't trust it, we wouldn't have had that magical experience in that coaching session. So when it comes to our intuition, it's a big deal to trust your intuition and to speak it no matter what.
And that's what
Yeah,
I
you know what?
learned
I
from
love what you just
Natasha.
said, that sorry, intuition, if you are fortunate to hear it and to feel it, right? But I think it takes a lot of courage to speak of it.
Yes.
What do you guys
Mhm.
think? Have you
Yes.
ever spoken or said something about out loud about that, you know, fifth sense, and then regret it or being made to feel uncomfortable because of it?
No,
No.
No. You know,
no.
I have in corporate, first of all, I am a proud recipient of the ADHD gene. So there's so many thoughts going at the speed of light in my head that my intuition was
Mhm.
not something that I was aware of for a very long time. And I could barely listen to the other person, never mind my own, whispers. But working in corporate, being often the only female within the leadership team, right? And it was a different time. It was, it was not that long ago, but the world has changed a lot since. Where if
Mhm.
I brought anything, ethereal, anything, even just intuition or business intuition, never mind any other kind, right? I would be made to feel that, oh, she's just being a girl, right? Or that's not how guys work. So being open about it, and I am loving that we're seeing more and more about people speaking of intuition in leadership, and especially when you open yourself up in sharing what your insights are with the person you're working with, I think there's vulnerability in there,
Mhm.
right? And I think it might help open the door to for them to try to do the same thing. So that being
Mhm.
said, do women have more intuition than men?
No.
I don't agree. Mindy, go ahead.
Well, I was going to answer the corporate question because, and talk about that for just a second, because in the corporate world, like I leverage my intuition, but I then back it up with data. And I'm not going to go into the C-suite and go and say I have an intuition about this, but I will have an intuition, and then I back it up with data and I
Right.
present it with the data. So you can
Mhm.
still leverage that institution, but know when and where to bring it to the table. Because I still think we need to have those conversations. Because a lot of the times, like you, Natasha, like I get that those visuals, I get a video, I get a picture,
Yeah,
and
me
sometimes
too.
I need to be able to share that picture of what I see, and it's usually right on.
And they
Right.
do feel sometimes like downloads. It's like once you open your heart and
Yes.
mind to it, to and by the way, this little harshness of us being a little harsh like a nut is a bit of a Western thing, because intuition and trusting trusting a greater force, or however you wish to call it, is practiced in many areas of the world. Just because we're not used to it doesn't mean that, look, feng shui, right? Like entire
Yes.
buildings are designed based on the energy of feng shui. So yes, love it. And you know what, it wasn't so I mentioned ADHD, so I do want to address that with our audience, because a lot of leadership, a lot of CEOs would tend to be a little on the ADHD, ADD side. Not everyone, but it seems to be a common trend. um it wasn't until I fully embraced mindfulness in a contemplative practice, like every day, that I began to hear it. And literally, like, it'll be things like you notice something that you would not normally notice, right? Like all of a sudden you're paying attention, your attention is drawn to something, and you're like, okay, I see it. And then later on, something happens related to that, to what brought, you know what I mean, to that object that you have not paid attention in a while. Or when speaking to clients, especially when meeting new people, I am actually able to see it, right? To see like the progression, like where would this go, right? And it's something that, until I had the freedom to express myself as an entrepreneur and represent myself, right, I did not feel comfortable speaking out loud.
Yeah.
So there goes courage and leadership, right? There's something to be
Right.
said about that. Now,
Mhm.
Mindy, you work a lot with physicians, right?
Mhm.
In physician world, and we have a saying in Spanish that if the patient died, it was the doctor. If the patient lived, it was God, right? And we attribute it to. So, is there a lot of room within that you know niche or industry to leave a bit of room for magic?
Absolutely. And I am actually bringing the magic down to a group of women physicians here in about a month. And I'm super excited for that because it's helping them to find their leadership intuition, and how to do they helping these women physicians be a leader of their own practices, and be a leader of their teams. And so it's really about helping them to tap into that leadership intuition, and tapping into the power of transformation as well, and knowing that transformation is something that we do all of the time. And so I'm really super excited for that. So yes, they are there, they are ready, they want to learn, and they are open to to looking at how their intuition plays into their medical profession and how they're best able to serve their patients.
And we have somebody waving hello to us. We got Jennifer saying hello, ladies.
Hey, Jennifer. I know Jennifer.
Hello, Jennifer. So, speaking of the military, can I go there, Coach Tash?
Absolutely.
Well, I just kind of went there. Talk about a leap of faith. So you are an Air Force veteran, which I love.
Yes.
The scaffolding. I cannot wait. We have an upcoming summit in April in the companion book called My Story, My Power, My Legacy. And it's all about the scaffolding of how we've landed where we landed and in how that makes us super special, at understanding our core and our ideal audience, right? So in the military, talk about, a patriarchy. How does intuition and in speaking of energy and that trusting that the unseen, how does that land? Is that changing?
Honestly, intuition has always been a part of the military, but they're not going to use those words exactly. They're going to say, follow your gut. You know what to do. Make it F decision. And I say that because they are going to use profanity. So honestly, that brought me back to a time when I was in the Air Force. And keep in mind, everyone in the military, they're highly, highly trained. All you do is practice. You're going to practice like you're going to perform. So everyone's super trained. We had what we call an exercise where there was I was a cop in the Air Force. So let's throw that out there real quick. I did nuclear security. And yes, it's different from regular law enforcement. So picture me, heavy weapons, like an M60 machine gun, ammo bag, spare barrel, like Rambo. Okay. So this is what you're going to picture. And so this particular inspection, we had cops inspecting cops, which is a big deal because that means they know our job, they know what we're supposed to be doing, and we can't get away with anything. And so with this particular inspection, I was meant to lead a team of 15 people into a building and sweep it. And granted, this is an exercise, so there's no real threat or target or no real threat. But I was trying to decide on how to sweep the building. And then my higher up, who was like kind of hanging out with me, but was not supposed to interfere with me too much, he just said, Walker, make a decision and trust your gut. And it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, because either way, you're going to learn from that experience. And so I had to trust my gut in that situation. And if this were a real life situation, then my gut could have either killed people or saved lives. And so trusting the gut in the military it's a huge part of the job. You just have to trust it. There is no time to second guess it, because that means lives are really at stake if you second guess it.
And there's many thank you for sharing that, because alongside being able in leadership, because there's a lot to be learned, right, from taking that chance, and that is about creating leaders, right? But in that culture, there's got to be room for trusting the person that is trusting their gut, right?
Absolutely.
And for leading and coaching the outcome, because if people are afraid to make a mistake, or they're afraid to speak up, they're not going to bring their best game, for starters, because it's always going to be held back to safety. And intuition and energy and all of that is about going the distance. It's about being the superhuman that we are. We just somehow toned it down, to comply with expectations, right? To not stick out. I don't know why people don't want to stick out. I've been sticking out all my life. And so Stacy, you and I work a lot. Well, all of us work a lot together, but you and I particularly work a lot together. And you are highly intuitive, highly. Like, I am often shocked because I think I have a pretty good poker face because, I'm in the business of empowerment. So I know that when I'm, interacting with people, I need to show up in a certain professional way that represents the brand. It's not that it's not unauthentic, but that is, how I feel I need to show up in service, right? And Stacy will take a look at me and go, what's wrong? Where did you like is amazing for all the people that think that you can only connect with people in person, in that connecting virtually is not possible. Let me tell you, Miss Hall has something different to tell you about it.
Well, interesting that you say that because I just got off a very short coaching call. It was supposed to be an hour. And my client came to the call, and she's actually in Australia and I'm in Nevada. So that's even that longer distance. And by the way, thank you for that compliment, but it comes from being in alignment, which we can all be in alignment, all four of our bodies. And I looked at her and I was also listening. And so I asked a question and I noticed she was having trouble responding. And I could have, like, if I was coming from my head, I could have thought, there's something wrong. She's on something, whatever. But something told me, again, the gut was like, listen with your whole body. And so I said to her, just checking in, everything okay? And she started to cry. And she said, can I tell you something personal? And I said, yes. And she said, I've gone to this new health coach. And she said, they're having me eat lots of gluten. And she said, and gluten makes me sick. And I'm just going to say it's interesting because gluten ties up the gut and a lot of other things. This is why a number of people, now we're going off on a tangent, but I'll pull it back. But I'm just going to say a number of people have realized that too much gluten actually messes with the mind because it's messing with the gut. And she said, how did you know? I said, I could just see, everything wasn't working completely. And she said, yeah, I didn't want to cancel on you at the last minute. I'm like, oh no, if you're not feeling well, you got to go take care of yourself. And I said, if you know it doesn't work for you, why are you doing it anyway? And it was, of course, because she was giving the power over to the coach, right? The health coach. So anyways, we had a conversation about getting her power back and listening to her gut and clearing that out so that she could start thinking clearly again. Where it comes from, I'm going to say I developed it through a variety of ways, but especially through the practice of Qigong.
Yes, I'm a huge Qigong practitioner too. And those are, if you don't know what Qigong is, highly recommended. And what they are, back to ADHD, not everyone's able to meditate. Is one of those things that if you're trying, you're not doing it. It's supposed to be like, I don't know. And I'm telling you, it's supposed to be because back to the monkey mind. So there's such thing as active meditation in Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, even walking can be a source of, active meditation into calm, to try to calm the mind, right? So that you can listen to your body, so you can listen to yourself, right? So I'm going back a number of years now. I first became introduced to mindfulness through a coach, and it was on a personal level. I never, in a million years, thought that it was going to lead, to the life, to be such a life altering, influence in my life, right? But at the time, there was a gentleman called, still is, a gentleman called John Kabat-Zinn. I don't know if you guys know him or if our audience knows him. So he was one of the pioneers that brought mindfulness to the masses, right? So he's a professor, a researcher with MIT, and he began to do research to prove the power of the mind over, the body, over your mindset, over your health, over, all kinds of things. And so at the time, when you said mindfulness, it was the woo woo of the day, right? It was like, oh, you just thought of candles and maybe some incense. And it's like, no, this is science. And now, almost 10 years later, mindfulness being taught to medical students at the University of Toronto. Happen to be headquartered in Toronto, but is now being, scientific research that perhaps the link and the outcomes cannot be explained still, but they cannot be ignored. So the same goes with intuition and energy. So now let's talk about energy. How are you guys as acutely in tune with energy as you are with intuition? Are they mutually inclusive? Anybody?
So should I start?
I'll let Tosh start.
For me, they are very much intertwined, but now I am going to go a little woo-woo on you because I do teach yoga and I'm
Woo-woo
also
away, girlie. Woo-woo away.
Sounds good. I'm also level 2 Reiki practitioner. And honestly, with receiving the Reiki attunement, it just opened up and amplified my own intuition abilities, right?
Mm.
So I've always been clairsentient. So clairsentient, I can feel in my body very, very clearly. And now it's like I'm way more open than I've ever been open before. So as an example, if I'm hanging out with someone and say, for instance, if I don't kind of block off my energy and I am like, I forget about it and I just am hanging out with them. And so I'm open, then I can feel their pain in their body. So I have to mindfully close up my own energy field, right? In order to keep my energy separate from other people. And honestly, my personal opinion, especially with, I'm going to go a little bit astrology on you too, especially with the planetary alignments we have coming up, I think more and more people are going to run into that issue with needing to learn how to protect their own energy and not have energy leaks into other people and vice versa. So I know I went a little woo-woo there on you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So-
Because, sorry.
I'm going to take it one step further because I get you, Natasha. That's one of the things that in my work with women physicians, helping them to put on of their protection and to like and to visualize like putting on that bubble of protection and how important that is, because we if we don't block off our energy, we could absorb their pain and their energy. And I've seen that happen to a lot of women physicians that I've worked with. And so I have them kind of think about like a bubble that's around them. And to make it really funny, you need to picture, because I like to picture myself in my bubble as in one of those like, what do you call those sumo suits where the guys sumo?
I love it. I love it.
So every time like that stuff, like if negativity comes out there, I just like belly bump it out of the way. And it gets them to laugh and it helps them to do that. And then also like, let's say you forget to put your bubble of protection on. You can, when people leave, wipe it off and send it away. It's a big piece of if you happen to do that, because like we're there to feel it with them, but we also aren't there to absorb it. Does that make sense? And then take that on as our own pain, because then we can't help other people.
And you know what? Working in human resources, whenever there was a lot of wonky things happening in like any given day, I used to joke with our human resources manager. I was, I think, director of HR at that point. And I used to say, is today a full moon? Like whenever you start noticing the trend, right? Like, okay, that's one, that's two, that's three. Okay, is today a full moon? And you know what? 10 out of 10 times we would look it up. And indeed, it was a full moon.
And I believe it's a full moon tonight, isn't it?
There's exceptional, you can ignore the planets all you want, but I don't know, there's enough evidence now that it just cannot be ignored, in my opinion. Open hearts, open minds.
sorry, it's actually scientific. There is a pull from the planets. I mean, it isn't woo woo. I mean, it's, Coach Tosh is going to talk about astrological effects. That isn't woo woo either. It has to do with the pull of the energy, the polarity of the different planets, and then how that affects every other aspect of our universe. It's all interconnected. And you had asked the question, is gut intuition related to energy? Well, if your intuition is developed, you can feel the energy. Everybody feels the energy, but oftentimes they think it's someone else's stuff or they don't know where it's coming from. When we tap into our gut, we can actually feel the source of it.
So
Right.
so yeah, I love it. And you know what? I do, like, I'm not as sophisticated as you guys are, but um and being definitely a science researcher, well, I'm a researcher, so it's got to be science based, but um I do believe that just because we don't know what it is and we can't explain it doesn't mean it's not there, right?
Exactly.
That's the whole evolution of science. So Coach Dash, I want to go back to what's coming up. You mentioned that
Oh,
there's
you see me? I'm like,
coming up.
oh, so excited.
I want to know. I want all of us to know.
Yes. Well, speaking of science, because I'm such a nerd, I love science so much. So first, let's talk about the moon, right? And the science behind that. We know that, proven through science, the moon governs and rules all things liquid on our planet. Our water, right? The tides rise during the full moon to include the blood in the physical body. So we are liquid beings, right? We're made of so much water, so much blood. And so this is why, again, we see a lot of energy increasing, a lot more people wanting to consume alcohol, liquid, on full moons. But then outside of that, when it just comes to energy, period, that's also proven by science. We know that the earth has its Schumann resonance, the energy field of the earth, right? And that vibrates at a certain frequency. We also know that we are made up of certain energy that vibrates at certain frequencies. And science has also proven the auric field, the energy space around us. So even though, yes, I do say it is woo-woo, it is very much proven through science. So you just do your own research, never take my opinion. I am a big advocate of like learning for ourselves and always finding our answers through looking through the research.
Yes. Carolina,
I can't hear you.
yeah, you got muted somehow.
I thought it was me. I'm like, oh no.
It's okay. It
No,
was
but were you using
my-
your intuition to get what she was saying?
Yeah.
So I was going to say, just doing a little nudge, nudge, plug, plug, that all of you incredible ladies have a recurring feature on our magazine. So PwC Magazine has relaunched. We went on hiatus for a couple of years, actually. And we are now back full force. Our first issue, I just checked the stats, had close to 1,500 links that got opened and like 750 reading minutes or something like that, based on of what is showing. So we're definitely in this beautiful space where is an Economist meets Vogue meets, National Geographic meets Decorator, interior design, health, you name it. And what makes it exciting is that it is us. It is all the mentor experts of Powerful Women Today. You've met us, you've followed us. You're so gracious and generous on your comments, and we're trying to bring about ways to increase the contact and increase the ability to connect. And we are thrilled to be launching our empowerment circles. So Stacy, if you want, yours is coming up, I believe, next week, the 15th.
On the 15th.
You're
Yes.
starting your empowerment circle, and I know for sure we're going to have one for Coach Tash for intuition, and Mindy in coach training, of course. And Mindy's is also about leadership in all of that. But yours is in the immediate calendar. So tell us about your empowerment circle. And
But what I
what
love
can
is
we expect?
anybody we're calling it speaking invisibility, because that's what speaking allows us to do. And we can be speaking with through our writing, we can be speaking on stages, we can be speaking through podcasts. As I said, I love helping to develop folks who have a message into the wisdompreneur they really are meant to be. And you know, they used to say blondes have more fun, and I say wisdompreneurs have more fun and make more money than other kinds of business owners. And with that, that's what our circle's going to be. The folks come, you're going to ask questions. Where are you at in your speaking career? What would help you get to the next level? I'll be offering my experience, which has been developed over many years, to be able to give suggestions on what to do next in order to get your message further out.
Mhm. And intuition is also about intuition and energy are huge when it comes to speaking to, to impact and to influence. Being able to connect with your audience is a big part of that.
They always say you need to read the room. Read the room. And that's exactly it, being able to read what you're speaking into. And I'm sure I will tell a story. Maybe Mindy shared her story. I had and so Natasha, I had a story years ago that taught me to really tap in. But beyond that, not only reading the room, but being able to control our energy so that we can change the molecules in the room. And I know that sounds woo-woo. And Coach Tosh and Mindy and Carolina would agree with me. We actually change the atmosphere just by walking into it. And when we realize we have that much power, it's wonderful. And it makes it, for me, it always makes me think about what do I want to bring into the experience for other people.
It's the responsibility of it. There's a great book, and I can't remember the author this second, called Power versus Force. And there's an actual, he includes a lot of research that they've actually measured the energy of emotions, like with an actual energy reading, artifact. I don't know. This apparently I'm very science. My PhD is in marketing, so don't think that it's in like sciencey based. So it's definitely they've measured it. It's real, and that is how x-rays got discovered, right? Someone just happened to leave a thermometer beside the rainbow of colors that they were measuring, the frequency of the colors that could be seen, and yet the thermometer was reading from where color was not shining, because there were x-rays, there were rays that we could not see but exist. So just because we're beginning to embrace energy and intuition and the power to influence and the power to positively influence, right? And when people say words have power, words actually have a frequency that our body listens to, right? That's why how you speak to yourself, about yourself, and of others makes all the difference in the world. So, Mindy, you recently were one of our peer-to-peer mentors, and you spoke of a great topic that was speak so others will listen. So, because we're sticking to the energy and intuition theme, could you elaborate? Because you did such a beautiful presentation. How does that alter the attention that people pay to what you're saying, and in how to adjust it on the spot if there's negative energy, bubble aside, if there's energy, if there's all of a sudden a shift in the room,
Yeah.
something happens, right?
You can feel it. You can feel it, you can see it, and a lot of times we ignore it, and a lot of leaders ignore that. And it's so important to be able to recognize it, name it, and then be able to do something useful for it with it. So when we think about speaking so others listen, we need to remember that our words are powerful. How we engage with other people is very powerful. And I'm going to say this over again. in order to be interesting, we need to be interested.
Mm.
That was a big thing that I have learned in my life. And thank God somebody gave me some of this feedback, because in my quest to connect with other people, it came across to them as one-upping. Because, you know, like somebody's talking about, yeah, like Natasha, like she's got a dog. Oh, I have a dog too. I have 2 dogs. I've learned that that is not the best way to connect. The best way to connect is to ask really good questions and sit back and listen.
That's right.
If you want
Sometimes listen to the
to hear
silence.
your message, we have to care about them first.
I agree. I agree, especially in when you speak to inform and to connect in service, right? Oftentimes we come in ready with our PowerPoint presentation and here we go, right? And it's a verbal tsunami that goes out. And, you know, we have not even checked in with our audience and we don't even know what is it they want or need, right? And you could be, you know, figuring out some major mathematical equation, but because it wasn't what they were needing and what was it that they were looking for, you're going to miss out. And they might walk away thinking, what the heck was that? Right? When it's not about your level of competency or their level of competency. It's just that where we are at this moment in time, because so much happens around us that, you know, we just survived a pandemic, or we're still surviving a pandemic. There's major earthquakes that are, there's so much happening that can shift our priorities on the spot, that can shift our energy on the spot.
So going back to what Stacey said earlier, you know, she noticed the shift in the energy of her client and she checked in. But I love the importance of knowing, like, we check in at the beginning before I start any leadership session or any kind of program that I do. I always do a visual explorer exercise where they can see from a bunch of different pictures. And I use like a question that helps me to understand where they are energetically and where they are mentally, so that I can ensure that I'm meeting their needs for the whatever program that I do, because everything I do is so individualized for whatever that team or that board needs.
I love it. So Coach Tash, I'm very intrigued by training on intuition. And that's the high achiever in me. It's like, okay, where do I train? How do I know I passed? Right? Is how do one begin to develop that skill or strengthen that skill?
So I like to say we have to start with definitely the mindset of a child and to play games with our intuition, because our intuition, if you imagine that it wants to play games with us, versus thinking, oh, this has to be this hard, rigorous thing, but it's really simple and really easy. So I invite you to just use your imagination. And the simplest way to start is just imagine that your brain drops down into your heart brain. Whenever you need to make a decision, say, okay, from the combination of my brain, my heart brain, what's the next step for me to lean into? So now you're opening up a line of communication from your heart to your brain. Okay. And your heart, everybody's heart, I feel like, speaks to them in different ways. My heart shows me images and memories, but your heart might show you different things. Your heart might give you words, smells, sounds, songs. So it's understanding how your personal intuitive guidance system communicates to you, because it might look different from how mine communicates to me, but it's starting to just open up that line of communication. And we start with our imagination.
And it's a little bit, what I'm hearing is a little bit about seeing the unseen. And I think begin to strengthen all of our senses, right? Because I think the messages come, as you said, in many ways, right? And there's actually a nerve that is called the
vagus
nerve.
Vaga, I forget the
Vegas. Like
Vegas?
Las Vegas is the Vegas
Las Vegas. Okay. There's a nerve that actually goes from your gut straight to your brain. And it sends the signal. That's why your body knows. Your body's actually informing your mind of what's going on, right? And that's
Right.
why we use breathing. Because when we breathe, right, it activates that nerve. It touches your diaphragm when you're doing that. And that sends the signal. So even breathing exercises to, just to do a check, to do almost like a scan, right?
Right.
Where am I at? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? Right? Is a great exercise. Yes, Mindy?
But going off of what Tosh was saying, kind of it's really like taking what she said and having radical curiosity. How can I be curious about these emotions, this, because sometimes I see pictures, sometimes I see a movie, and things start playing out in front of me, and then it's like a premonition sometimes. But be very curious about it, and be curious about your emotions, curious about the intuition that comes to you, and that'll also help you to be curious about other people's intuition as well. Because in coaching, one of the things that they teach us with the ICF is, my intuition is showing me. Can I share that with you? That's part of what they want us, that they test us on, is utilizing our intuition. And the more curious we can be, the more heightened our intuition will be.
Right.
So I want to build on that, because it's the working through it, right? So is, like, if you build it, he will come, right? It's like, well, what am I building, right? And it sounds a little narcissistic, and it sounds a little self-centered, but it's not, right? It's about really getting to your core. And like, what is this I'm feeling, and why am I feeling it? And it happens, like, I know sometimes mid-afternoon my energy will shift, right? And it actually happened not too long ago. I was working with Stacy on something, and I was feeling great all day. In our meeting was going great, and then we began to work on a specific task, and all of a sudden I felt angry, and nothing we were working on merited that, right? Like, it wasn't the way we were, like, all of a sudden it was just this closeness. It's like nothing felt right. And and we worked through it, and we still had to finish it, but I went from 0 to 100 on the uncomfortable scale, right? And I had to do some reflective work afterwards and go, what was that about? What was it about that was triggering me? And I know it wasn't Stacy. I know it wasn't the work we were doing. It wasn't any of that. But I had to take responsibility for it, and and really explore, like, what about these? It could have been fear, could have been because it's a new product, it's a new service. So is it the fear of the launch? Is it fear of failure? Is it like, what is it about this that is setting me off, right? And as a leader, taking a page from from the great Stoics, journaling, the greater your leadership, the more important journaling in reflecting begins, right? Marcus Aurelius, like, it just doesn't get better than that. So when you're thinking journaling, it's not about, oh, dear diary, right? Like, I ate an apple today. It's not, you could if you're monitoring your food intake, but the point is, take the time exploring your feelings, your emotions, and investing in yourself, because you're worth it. Because that is how you get to your best life. And if you are in the service industry, as all of us are, right? Showing up as your best self with the best tools and skills, and in a clean energy, reservoir, is the best way that we can be of service. So we're coming to the top of our hour. If anybody has like one last minute urgent question, now is the time to ask it. But in the meantime, I would love to get a key takeaway, or a task or challenge, or something that somebody can try today, because I'm a now kind of girl. What can we try today that will begin to open our hearts and minds and put us in the path to being better at recognizing our intuition. So Tash, if we could go Tash, Mindy, and Stacy, that would be amazing.
I think I'm going to stick with my original thought because nothing else is popping up right away. I have tons of things that you can do with exercises, but I think let's stick with simplicity for today. So just communicating. Actually, I'm going to change it up a little bit. This is what I do on a daily with a lot of clients is just from your mind to your heart, tell yourself mentally, I love you. I support you. I'm here for you. So you just open up this line of communication. And that's where we want to start is just open up that channel. So if you are a chakra person, maybe you're imagining that the chakras are opening up together. But if you're not a chakra person, no worries. You just be from a mental standpoint.
Beautiful. Thank you. Mindy?
Gratitude. Journaling your gratitude every morning is the best way to start your day and allow your especially if you are gratitude for your intuition that you're going to get that day. Allowing your intuition and awakening up what you're grateful for can really set your day off and help create a better energy for you to have throughout your day.
I love it. Stacy?
I love both of these exercises, and this one is going to be very simple. We were all given 5 senses: the sense of touch, the sense of hearing, the sense of sight, the sense of smell, and the sense of taste. Believe it or not, becoming more aware, like right now, everybody can pay attention. Where are your clothes touching your body? Most of us wear clothes that we have no idea they're on. And if you can just tap in, where is your shirt touching your skin? Where are your pants? If you're wearing pants, like around your knees, paying that close attention to the 5 senses. Like, what are you seeing right now? What are you seeing without judgment? What are you tasting in your mouth right now, whether you're eating or not? What can you taste? What aromas are around you? That's actually, along with what Mindy and Tosh have shared, it's another way you combine these 3 together. You'll be in alignment within yourself, very clear where you are in the environment you're in, because you'll be inside your body, very aware.
I love it. And I would say my thought is spend time by yourself. Spend time by yourself, it should be the greatest company you've got, right? And spend the time, listening and exploring, and also learn to negotiate with yourself, right? If your body mind is saying, no, I don't, 5 more minutes, or no, I don't want to do this, or, whatever, right? Do an analysis, do a pros and cons, and negotiate with yourself. And we did a show not too long ago about, is it outside of your comfort zone or inside your comfort zone where genius is? And the answer is yes. It's in both. Sometimes it will be outside of your comfort zone. Sometimes it will be within your comfort zone. Either way, through reflection and journaling and self-knowledge, you're going to make an informed decision. And that's really what it's all about, right? Personal confidence and growth. So I would love to thank you all for trying our new format. It's been amazing. I love our, friends in the audience that were so generous with their messages and encouragement and support. And we look forward to seeing you all every Tuesday at 7 Eastern. And not next week, because it's Valentine's. So we're hoping we're going to show some love to ourselves, but we are coming back with our new format for Power Talks starting February 21st at 7 o'clock. And don't worry, we'll be reminding you and nudging you and, wishing you that you join us and you share your insights in all with us. So thank you, everybody. It's been absolutely lovely seeing you. And check out our magazine. It's amazing. So talk soon. And until next time, and happy Valentine's, happy Family Day, happy anything that happens between now and February 21st. Talk soon. Bye.
empowering women on a global scale. This has been Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. To learn more about how you can join and transform your life and the lives of women everywhere with professional speaking, publishing, podcasting, and web TV, visit powerfulwomentoday.com. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen and watch your podcasts.